Welcome back to English Active Listening. I'm your host, Alyssa, and today we're going to dive even deeper into some common pitfalls that can trip us up when speaking English, and more importantly, how to avoid them. It's all about making your English clear, natural, and truly sound like you. So let's get started. First things first, let's talk about the biggest mistake of all. The fear of making mistakes. I know, it sounds a bit funny, but so many of us get so caught up in the idea of saying something perfectly that we end up not saying anything at all. Or we hesitate so much that our speech becomes choppy and unnatural. Think about it. When you're learning to ride a bike, you fall a few times, right? You don't just give up. You get back on, you learn from each wobble and each tumble, and eventually you're cruising along with confidence. Learning a language is exactly the same. Every mistake isn't a failure. It's a stepping stone, a crucial piece of feedback, a chance to learn and improve. It shows you're trying, you're pushing your boundaries, and that's exactly what you need to do to grow. So let's agree right now to let go of that fear. Embrace the journey and know that every single time you open your mouth to speak English, you're actively getting better. One word, one phrase, one conversation at a time. Now let's move on to something super important. Clarity. When you speak, your main goal is to make sure your listener understands exactly what you're trying to say, without any confusion, misinterpretation, or unnecessary effort on their part. Sometimes we make simple mistakes that can really muddle our message, even if our grammar is technically correct. One common clarity mistake, and it's a big one, is mumbling or speaking too softly. Imagine you're eagerly telling a friend an exciting story, perhaps about a thrilling adventure you had. But your voice is barely a whisper. Your words are getting lost in your throat, and you're looking down at the floor. How will they possibly follow along, let alone get excited with you? It's incredibly tough. You see, projecting your voice isn't about shouting or being aggressive. It's about speaking with enough volume, articulation, and confidence so that your words can travel clearly and comfortably to your listeners' ears. It's like ensuring your voice fills the space just enough for effortless listening, whether you're in a quiet room or a slightly noisier environment. So make sure you're actively projecting your voice. Speak clearly and loudly enough so that your words can be easily heard without strain. This doesn't mean you need to yell, just find a good, confident volume that feels natural and audible. A fantastic way to practice this, and truly hear yourself as others do, is by speaking in front of a mirror, or even better, recording yourself using your phone. Listen back and pay critical attention to your volume and how distinct each word sounds. You might be genuinely surprised at how much clearer you sound when you consciously project your voice, even if it feels a little different or louder to you at first. The goal is to be effortlessly heard. Another clarity killer, which we all fall victim to from time to time, is speaking too fast. We've all done it, haven't we? Gotten excited, perhaps a little nervous, or just eager to get our ideas out. And suddenly our words are racing out of our mouths like a speeding train, one blurring into the next. The problem is, when you speak too quickly, your pronunciation can suffer immensely, and your listener simply won't have enough time to process and internalize important words or phrases. It's like trying to read a fascinating book when someone is flipping the pages far too fast. You can't absorb the information, you miss details, and the overall message gets lost. When you rush your speech, your tongue, lips, and jaw don't have adequate time to form the individual sounds correctly. Consequently, words can blend together in an indistinct mush, making them indistinguishable, and your meaning opaque. So, the simple yet powerful solution is to take a breath, literally. Before you start a sentence, take a small, conscious breath. This short pause gives your mind a moment to organize your thoughts and your mouth a chance to prepare. Then speak at a moderate, comfortable pace. This allows you to articulate each word properly, giving each syllable its due. And it also gives your listener ample time to process what you're saying without feeling overwhelmed. Think of it as giving each word its own moment to shine, allowing your message to unfold clearly. Try this. Pick a slightly longer, more complex sentence, something like, "The intricate details of the ancient tapestry revealed a fascinating story of courage and resilience." And say it slowly, really focusing on clearly enunciating each word and syllable. Then try saying it again at a normal conversational pace, perhaps slightly faster, but always making sure it still sounds just as clear and comprehensible. And then there's the critical mistake of not pausing enough. In English, much like in written language where punctuation guides the reader, pauses are absolutely crucial for clarity, meaning, and natural flow in spoken communication. They act like invisible commas, periods, and even paragraph breaks in your speech, giving your listener little mental breaks to catch up, process information, and anticipate what's coming next. A well-placed pause can do wonders. It can emphasize a particular point, allow your listener to fully absorb a complex idea, or simply give you a moment to think about what you want to say next, gathering your thoughts without sounding flustered or searching for words. Without these natural pauses, your speech can sound like one long, breathless, run-on sentence, making it incredibly difficult to follow, understand, and retain. Imagine trying to listen to a beautiful piece of music if there were no rests or breaks. It would just be a chaotic jumble of notes, losing all its melody and structure. Pauses give your speech rhythm, a natural cadence, allowing meaning to emerge with greater impact and grace. For instance, instead of saying, "I went to the park, and then I saw my friend, and we had ice cream," which sounds like a single rushed breath, you could say, "I went to the park, and then I saw my friend, and we had ice cream." See how those little breaks, those conscious moments of silence, make it so much easier to digest and understand? They allow your listener's brain to chunk the information. A very practical exercise is to practice reading a paragraph aloud, perhaps from a news article or a book, and consciously add short pauses after commas and slightly longer, more deliberate pauses after periods. You will notice an immediate and significant improvement in how natural and understandable your speech becomes, and you'll feel more in control of your delivery. Now, let's talk about natural flow. This is what makes your English sound smooth, authentic, and less like you're translating in your head. It's about making your words glide together effortlessly, seamlessly, just as a native speakers do, creating a comfortable listening experience. A big mistake that really hinders natural flow, and one that many language learners struggle with, is word-for-word translation from your native language. Every single language on Earth has its own unique way of structuring sentences, its own specific grammar rules, its own idioms, and its own preferred ways of expressing ideas. If you try to translate directly, literally word for word, from your native tongue into English, your English can often sound awkward, stiff, clunky, or simply unnatural to a native ear. For example, in some languages, you might literally say, "I thirsty am," instead of the natural English, "I am thirsty," or "My age is 20," instead of "I am 20 years old." If you carry that direct literal structure into English, it just won't sound right. It will stick out. Instead of focusing on translating each individual word, try to shift your focus to the idea you want to convey. Ask yourself, how would a native English speaker express this exact idea? Or, what's the common way this concept is communicated? This shift in mindset takes practice and a bit of a mental rewiring, but it's incredibly effective in making your English sound more authentic and natural. One of the absolute best ways to work on this is through constant and varied exposure to lots of authentic English. Immerse yourself in movies, TV shows, podcasts, audiobooks, and real-life conversations. Pay close attention not just to the words, but to how native speakers phrase things, the common expressions they use, and the typical sentence patterns and structures. Over time, these natural patterns will begin to feel instinctive to you. Another common mistake that disrupts flow is misusing prepositions. Prepositions are those small but mighty words like in, on, ate, for, with, to, and from. They are notoriously tricky because their usage often doesn't follow strict, easily definable rules that apply universally, and their meaning and correct application can change significantly depending on the context or the verb they accompany. For instance, we say on the table, but in the box. We listen to music, not listen music. We arrive at the airport, but arrive in London. We can be good at something, but good for your health. Making mistakes with these tiny but crucial words can make your sentences sound a bit off. Or even worse, it can change their meaning entirely, leading to confusion. The best way to improve here is not by trying to memorize long, abstract lists of prepositions in isolation. Instead, focus on immersion and the memorization of common phrases and collocations. Don't just learn the preposition. Learn it in context as part of a natural, everyday phrase. For instance, instead of just learning on, learn on the phone, on time, on purpose, on holiday, on my way. Practice creating your own sentences using these fixed phrases and common verb-preposition combinations. For a quick exercise right now, try to think of 5 different common phrases using the preposition for. You might come up with wait for, good for, prepare for, pay for, or look for. Learning them as chunks, as complete units of meaning, will make them much more natural and intuitive to use in your spoken English. And then there's the critical issue of incorrect stress and intonation. This is one of the most powerful elements in making your English sound natural and understandable. Yet it's often overlooked. English is what we call a stress-timed language, which means that certain syllables within words and certain important words within a sentence aren't naturally emphasized or stressed, spoken with more force and a slightly higher pitch, while other syllables and less important words are reduced, said more quickly, and often blend together. This emphasis creates a distinct rhythm, a musicality in English speech. If you put the stress on the wrong syllable within a word, it can subtly change the meaning of that word or make it sound foreign. For example, if I say present with the stress on the first syllable, I'm talking about a gift, a noun. But if I say present with the stress on the second syllable, I'm talking about the action of giving something, a verb. Similarly, if you stress the wrong word in a sentence, it can completely alter the meaning or focus. Consider, I didn't say he stole the money versus I didn't say he stole the money versus I didn't say he stole the money. Each stresses a different word and implies a different meaning. Intonation, which is the overall rise and fall of your voice's pitch over phrases and sentences, also carries significant meaning and emotion. A rising intonation at the end of a sentence often indicates a question, while a falling intonation indicates a statement, a command, or a sense of finality. Neglecting these elements can make your speech sound flat, monotone, robotic, or even make you unintentionally sound rude, uninterested, or uncertain. To improve, you must become an avid listener. Listen incredibly carefully to native speakers in natural conversation. Pay close attention to which words they emphasize in a sentence, where their voice rises, and where it falls. Try mimicking their intonation. A particularly effective and fun exercise is shadowing. Find a short audio clip of a native speaker from a podcast, a YouTube video, or a movie scene, and try to repeat what they say almost simultaneously, like an echo, mimicking their pronunciation, their rhythm, their speed, and their intonation as closely as humanly possible. Record yourself doing this, then compare your version to the original. You'll quickly begin to notice and correct differences in your stress and intonation patterns, and this practice will train your mouth and ears to produce more natural, fluent English. Finally, let's talk about making your English sound more like a real person talking, with human-like expressions. This is about moving beyond just grammatically correct sentences to truly expressive, authentic, and engaging communication that connects with your listener on a deeper level. A big mistake here, believe it or not, is sounding too formal or academic in everyday conversation. While it's absolutely fantastic to know and use formal English for specific situations, like writing academic essays, giving professional presentations, or drafting official documents, using overly formal phrases and vocabulary in casual daily conversation can make you sound stiff, unnatural, and a bit out of place. Imagine trying to use phrases like, "Furthermore, I must ascertain the precise location of the aforementioned beverage," when all you really want to ask your friend is, "Where's the drink?" It just doesn't sound like a natural, spontaneous conversation, does it? Native English speakers, in their day-to-day interactions, commonly use contractions like I'm, you're, there, isn't, wouldn't, and a wealth of idioms or phrasal verbs. Embrace these. They are the glue of natural conversation. Instead of saying, "I am going to the shop," try, "I'm going to the shop." It sounds much more natural, smoother, and more fluent. Similarly, learning and integrating common idioms and phrasal verbs into your vocabulary can really boost your naturalness and understanding. For example, instead of simply saying, "I understand," a native speaker might often say, "I get it." Instead of "I am very tired," you could say, "I'm worn out," or "I'm beat." Instead of "I will consider your suggestion," you might hear, "I'll think it over." Start by picking just one new idiom or phrasal verb each week and actively try to use it in your conversations. Over time, this small, consistent habit will significantly expand your repertoire of natural conversational expressions, making your English sound less like a textbook and more like a lively chat. Another mistake is not using filler words effectively, or conversely, overusing them. Now, I know I just talked about avoiding unnecessary words for clarity, but some filler words, when used naturally and sparingly, are actually an integral part of human expression and natural speech. Words and sounds like, um, uh, you know, like, I mean, well, or so. These aren't always signs of poor English. Instead, they can give us a brief moment to think, to gather our thoughts, or to subtly signal that we're about to shift topics or add more information, and they can make our speech sound less robotic and more spontaneous, more human. The key is balance. The mistake isn't necessarily using them. It's overusing them to the point where they become distracting, repetitive, or make you sound unsure and hesitant about what you're saying. Use them sparingly, and more importantly, use them as genuine pauses for thought, rather than as unconscious verbal crutches to fill every silence. Listen carefully to how native speakers use these words. Usually, it's brief, subtle, and serves a clear purpose in the natural flow and rhythm of conversation, often indicating a momentary processing of information. And finally, a crucial element that many language learners unfortunately overlook, but which is fundamental to human communication, is the power of body language and facial expressions. Communication isn't just about the words we say. It's profoundly about how we say them and all the nonverbal cues that accompany our speech. Your tone of voice, your hand gestures, your eye contact, your posture, and your facial expressions all add significant layers of meaning, emotion, and nuance to your words. If your words are enthusiastic and excited, but your face is flat, your body is stiff, and your eyes are looking away, there's a frustrating disconnect that can confuse your listener or make your message seem less genuine, less believable. For example, if you're talking about something exciting, let your face show that excitement. Smile, widen your eyes a little, use expressive hand gestures. If you're asking a question, raise your eyebrows slightly and perhaps tilt your head. If you're showing empathy, a gentle nod or a soft expression can convey that. Practice mirroring the expressions and gestures of people you see speaking English on TV, in movies, or observe them in real life. These nonverbal cues make your communication much more human, expressive, and engaging, helping you connect more deeply and authentically with your listener, building rapport and ensuring your message is fully received. So, how do we fix these common mistakes and truly enhance our spoken English, making it clearer, more natural, and more human-like? It all comes down to consistent, deliberate practice, coupled with a willingness to experiment and learn from every interaction. Here are a few practical, actionable steps you can integrate into your daily routine, starting today. Record yourself regularly. This is perhaps the most powerful and insightful self-correction tool you have at your disposal. Make it a habit to record yourself speaking for just a few minutes every day. You don't need fancy equipment. Your phone's voice recorder is perfectly fine. You could describe your day, summarize an article you read, talk about a hobby you're passionate about, or even just respond to a few common interview questions. Then, critically listen back to these recordings. You will quickly and independently identify areas where you can improve your clarity, your natural flow, and how human-like your expressions sound. You'll pick up on those unconscious ums and uhs. Notice if you're speaking too fast, or if your voice sounds monotonous. It's like being your own personal language coach, offering unbiased feedback you might not get otherwise. Embrace shadowing as a daily exercise. As I mentioned earlier, shadowing is an incredibly effective technique for improving pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation, and for internalizing natural speech patterns. Find a short audio clip of a native English speaker from a podcast, a YouTube video, or a movie scene, and try to repeat what they say almost simultaneously, like an echo, mimicking their pronunciation, their rhythm, their speed, and their intonation as closely as humanly possible. Don't worry about understanding every single word at first. The primary goal is to imitate the sound and flow. This trains your mouth and brain to produce English sounds and rhythms more naturally and efficiently, building muscle memory for spoken English. Find a language partner or join a conversation group. The absolute best way to improve speaking is by actually speaking. It sounds obvious, but many learners spend too much time on passive learning. Find someone you can practice with regularly, whether it's an English-speaking friend, another language learner at your level, or even an online tutor. Don't be afraid to make mistakes during these conversations. That's precisely how you learn, how you identify your weak spots, and how you get comfortable expressing yourself. The more you speak, the more natural and automatic it becomes. Look for online communities dedicated to language exchange, or explore local language exchange groups in your area. Focus on one thing at a time. It can feel incredibly overwhelming to try and fix everything at once. If you try to correct your speed, intonation, vocabulary, and grammar all simultaneously, you'll likely feel frustrated and make little progress in any area. Instead, pick just one specific area to focus on for a week or two. Maybe for 1 week, you consciously make an effort to speak at a slower, more deliberate pace, really enunciating your words. The next week, you might concentrate on using more contractions, or perhaps practicing a specific set of prepositions in context. Then, in another week, you could focus solely on making sure your voice rises for questions and falls for statements. Small, consistent efforts, when focused, lead to incredibly big and noticeable results over time. Celebrate these small victories along the way. They build confidence and keep you motivated. Remember, the goal isn't to be absolutely perfect. It's to be understood clearly, to communicate effectively, and to express yourself naturally and confidently. Every single time you speak English, you are actively improving, refining, and growing. So keep practicing, keep learning, and most importantly, don't be afraid to make those beautiful, valuable mistakes. They are an essential part of your journey to fluency, marking your progress every step of the way. Thanks for joining me today on English Active Listening. I truly hope these detailed tips help you feel more confident and natural when you speak English. I'd love to hear from you. What's one specific mistake you're going to focus on improving in your English speaking this week? Share your goal with us.